Welcome to Dare a New Belief, a place to discover what is possible for your life after the loss of a loved one, and where you will find inspiration, insight, support, and love, and hopefully a bit of laughter to help you through your day. Now, here's your host, Nada Hogan.
Welcome to Dare a New Belief, where you will find light and life, love and joy, healing, faith, and hope. A place where you get to believe in what is possible for your life. And today I have the great honor and privilege to welcome back Donna Mathiowetz. Donna is an inspirational speaker and author and strives to leave a legacy of hope, healing, and forgiveness by sharing her story of loss, grief, and resiliency. She began working in the arena of loss and grief, and I said 1997, but I think it's 1992. We'll talk about that. Following the death of two teenage sons within 2 years. I mean, my God, I can't even imagine that. Donna is the author of What Have You Done Since I Left? And A Journal for Your Journey. She has also created a card deck. It's awesome. And Donna has been married to a wonderful man, Dick, for 48 years. And they have 4 children, 3 very special grandchildren, and have fostered 3 children from 3 different countries. Donna, welcome back. Thank you for being here.
Well, I'm happy to be back. Thank you.
I'm thrilled to have you back. So for the listeners, if you haven't listened to part 1, please go back and listen to part 1 so you can get caught up to where we're at. But Donna's work began after losing 2 of her sons. Her first son, Tim, was 16 years old when he was fatally shot with a handgun. And my God, my heart just dropped when you said that. I am just so sorry. And she had a, and I don't know the age of Oleg, who came from...
He was 15. He was 15.
Okay, 15. And he came from a Ukrainian orphanage. So that is where I would like to pick up the conversation. If we can start talking about Oleg and the journey with that, because I cannot imagine lose one child is unfathomable. But then to lose 2 children, I just cannot imagine how you were able to do that. So if we can talk a little bit about how Oleg came over. He was in the Ukrainian orphanage, but he came over here to the States, and then you guys were taking care of him. He had cancer, and if we can just kind of pick it up and take it from there, so we can just be in this with you, Donna. Sure.
Well, I do believe that there were many people thinking that we maybe were really in some kind of trouble in the grief we were already experiencing after Tim's death, when we said yes to taking a young boy into our home who we knew had cancer, and let alone he didn't speak any English.
Wow.
So and I do believe, any of us who've gone through traumatic loss like we have, there is this grief fog, and I think it's real, and we don't think clearly. That's, I think, part of the reason, I guess, we recommend not to make any sudden changes for at least a year, because we probably aren't real responsible during those times. And I guess, us taking Oleg in at about 1.5 years after Tim's death, I don't know. We sat down together as a couple and we kind of said, well, here's the reasons we shouldn't, and here's the reasons we should or can. And that list of why we still really could was longer. And so I was home full time. My husband was working. Our daughter was away at college. And we had 2 empty bedrooms. And I guess I just felt, well, why can't we do this? I have a lot of time on my hands, and what better way to spend it than maybe helping a child to live? So we said yes, and he came, and I know it sounds kind of out there, but really it was almost like he was an angel that was sent to our home. He was an amazingly easy child. he learned to speak English in record time. He had this little Ukrainian English dictionary. He would set me down at the kitchen table every day, sometimes twice a day, because he was that anxious to learn English. And he was very bright. We could tell he had a wonderful mind. And he wanted to learn, and he did. He was understanding us within the first probably 2 months, and 2 months after that, he was speaking very clear English that anyone could understand. And we did have Oksana, who came as his translator for us. She spent probably a couple of weeks in our home with us, with Oleg. That was, of course, really helpful. And then after that, she would meet us at the hospital for his inpatient chemotherapy treatments. And then, other than that, he would just, if he needed to tell someone, like we weren't understanding, he would get her on the phone and she'd help us understand. So it really didn't seem like such a chore at all to have him there, not speaking English at first. It was really kind of a challenge, and almost like a little one learning to talk. He's like, oh, look at what he learned today. Oh, I didn't know he knew that. And he had this great sense of humor. He was very witty, and we laughed a lot. And he loved. Now, he did come out of a Ukrainian orphanage, and he just loved life here. I think he thought he'd landed in heaven when he got to Hastings. So, and compared to where he came from, it was pretty cool. So he was just this delight to have. And so, and as I said in our first part last week, Nita, that, Tim's circumstance was I saw him off to school on a Friday morning, and the next time I saw my beautiful, strong, athletic son was in his casket on Monday afternoon. With Oleg, we did it all. We went through it all with him, and we did the Make-A-Wish trip, and we had hospice care in our home, and it couldn't have been done any better. I'm, of course, I so wish he could have stayed longer. I think he would have made his, a mark on the world, but he made a mark on our world in those 6.5 months. And so he needed us, but we needed him too. And so it was such a give and take, and he was just, we still laugh. We still say some Ukrainian phrases that he would say to us. We still use some of those things, or we try to sound Ukrainian when we use a word. We still, and we're talking now 26 years ago that he passed away, but he was just this amazing guy, and he just loved us. We could be sitting on the couch next to each other, and we maybe watching TV, and he'd come down and he'd wiggle his skinny little butt right between us on the couch because he wanted to be that close. So it was, and that's why I say he was like an angel. He wasn't any trouble. He just was very, he didn't cause us any problems, and it was hard to see him go, but he even did that in stride, and he knew that we'd see him again someday, and that was the good news. So, but the painful parts were having to talk to him about that death looked like what was going to have to happen, because we were all done with chemo, and something had started metastasizing, and we all know the rest of the story when those things happen, and we had to have that talk. And there was some really that I can play over some of those discussions with him like it happened yesterday, which were hard, but he did his best to do his best until he couldn't anymore.
Yes, man. I'm telling you, because I can't imagine, because that has to be, I literally cannot imagine that you're having to tell this child what is happening, and especially, and I don't know, because at that time, was he understanding what you were saying in English, or did you have to have an interpreter?
No, he was, because it was, probably a month before he died that we, finally, it happened that he's sitting in the living room, I'm in the kitchen, and he says, so, no more medicine? And I thought, I have to be honest, because he was very bright. I knew I couldn't, string him along or not be truthful. And so I sat down with him, and I just said, well, Oleg, unless there's a miracle, there is nothing else that the doctors can do. There is no more medicine. And he said, so I'm going to die? and and he said, "This isn't fair. I was in Ukraine with nothing, and I come here and he said, I have everything I could ever want, and now I'm going to die." How do you overcome that? It's like, you're right, Oleg. It's not fair. You're right. It's not fair at all. But he was just, yeah. So we, and I guess now this far out of all that, I've looked at this and said, well, God, I believe that God knew what I was going to do with this. And so, he gave me the experience of losing Tim in a tragic, sudden way. And then I got the experience of Oleg, because it was cancer and caregiving and all those things that so many people do every day. And so now I can relate to both, because we've experienced it both ways. Didn't make it easy, but I see now, how we can see more clearly once we're removed from it for a while. And hindsight is 20/20, and I guess I realize it's all part of what makes me well-rounded to be able to speak to people in grief, no matter how it happened. Yeah.
I just imagine that after losing your son, Tim, and then with Oleg coming a year and a half later, that your heart had to be, of course, still grieving and still healing, but also so open and so full of love to be able to bring another little one, even though he's 15, but still, there are kids, there are little ones, and bring another one in, and knowing that he was ill. I mean, I just can't imagine the love that just pours from your heart, and how, and just the way you said it, because you said he felt like he had landed in heaven in Hastings, and he was like an angel for you guys. I mean, it just, to me, it's just, it has divine divinity just written all over it. And
that's how I feel too. Yeah.
So beautiful. So beautiful.
Yeah.
And did it help having Oleg here with you? Did it help to heal for you and for Dick and for Jill? Did it help for all of you to be able to heal the loss of Tim? Do you think he played a big part in that?
I think to some degree, but I also think it might have caused me to put my grief of Tim's death on a shelf. And it wasn't done yet. I think I might have set it aside because I was so involved with Oleg. And so when he died, then that was still there. There might have been dust on it, but once I brushed the dust off, it was still there. So I think there was still work to be done. And really, as you know, we work through this. This is something we carry with us the rest of our lives. It doesn't. 28 years later, 26 years later, there are still times that I feel more like I'm truly grieving. The holidays and the birthdays and the anniversaries and the family gatherings where it's just so it's just so evident that these guys are missing, and whoever else they would have brought with them are not here. And so those are still hard, and I to tell people that because there's still people who just hope it all just goes away. I hope I don't have to feel like this forever. It's like, well, I think you'll feel pieces of this forever. I don't want to lie to them and tell them, just give yourself another few years. It's like, how could that be anyway? How could anyone imagine not thinking about your child who's not here ever? It doesn't make sense that we would ever be over it, that, these little phrases that we don't like hearing, get over it and move on and all that. It's like, that's not possible.
Right.
And, and that's another part, if you want to go this direction about, the passion I have for helping people in active grief. The other side of that is helping people to be helpers. I think we fall short as a society in ways that we can be really holding a place for people in grief. Our culture doesn't do well with this. We don't want to talk. We want people to get over it. We want people to stop talking about their loved one. We don't want to feel uncomfortable. And so in the book that I just that just came out, I have a section of that. I call it Come Alongside. And I was able to interview, I think it was 8 people, all who I've met through different grief groups that I've been part of. Some had lost a spouse and some had lost children, and there was a couple suicides. And I asked them if they would help contribute to the book by answering 3 questions. 1, what helped you? 2, what did not help you? And the third one was, have you found any kind of meaning or hope since your loved one's death? And so they were all very honest. They wrote, they emailed me what they wrote, and I edited really nothing. And and there is some repetition, but I thought, you know what, for those reading it who need to learn more or want to learn more about this, if 8 people all said a couple of the same things, that must mean there's some validity in that. So, pay attention. But and that's some of the comments I'm getting from people after they read it is like, thank you. I learned, yes, thank you. I want to be better at this. I want to know what I should say and what I shouldn't say. And, is it too late to send a card a month later? And, is it okay to bring up their name? And I mean, all the things that we say, no, it's not too late. Yes, say their name. All the things. And I know you understand exactly what I'm saying, Nita, after the loss of your daughter. Yeah. There's so many things that people just don't know, and they're so uncomfortable, and it makes me sad and so part of my campaign is to let's get better at this, and that's what I speak to other groups about. Other than grief groups, I go to other places and talk about, do you want to get better? Do you want to not have such sweaty palms when you walk up in the reception line at the visitation, because you're going to have a word or no words, but just a gentle hug and I care and I'm so sorry, whatever, but
yes.
I that part really kind of, I get going on that because I think there's work to be done.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And I can't tell you how many times you could feel the awkwardness in a conversation because somebody would want to say something, are you doing okay? Or, because for me, it's been only 12 years. And it's always, it's so amazing to me how, as time just continues to move on, when shortly after Dara's passing, my mailman, I don't even know how he knew, but it was 2 weeks after her passing. And he had said he lost his daughter 3 years ago from breast cancer. And he just said, it's hell. And I hate telling you this, but I just want you to know that it's hell and you never completely recover from this. And I just thought, oh my God, are you kidding? In 3 years? In 3 years, I'm going to have it all together. I'm going to understand this. And my heart will be wrapped around it and my heart will feel better. And no, it's better. We do better.
And darn, he was right.
Yes. So even when you say 28 years and 26 years, and I'm thinking as a listener, it's like, my gosh, that's a lifetime. That's somebody's whole lifetime. And you still feel that pain. And it's like, yes, because it's your child. And that's what I tell people. And that's why it was so important for me to be able to find a way. And I had said for 10 years, how can I say Dara's name all of the time without people going, oh my God, there's that crazy woman talking about her dead daughter again. And then it's like, boom, Dara, a New Belief podcast. So I get to say Dara, like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 50 times a week. So,
yes. And I know that's what I tell people. I am privileged with my speaking that I get to keep Oleg and Tim's memory alive because I tell their stories all the time and I wrote about them and now people know them both better because they've read about them. And, because when I speak to a grief group, well, any group, I don't talk a lot about Oleg because, the story of Tim alone gives me so much to talk about as far as the whole grief journey. But I do mention that, that we lost a second child and, but there's so much more to his story, and that's fun to be able to share that in some ways now too. But it's just a challenge, and people, people will look at me with these, grief eyes that we know what those look like. That you can see into their souls through how the look in their face, and they say, well, when was it? How long did it take before whatever, fill in the blank. And it's like, my thought is, do I lie to them? Or, and so I try as gently as I can to say, well, this, if we all got to do what we know is the right order of things, we would all die before our children die, and we would love them till our deaths, right? So why would we not love them with that much intensity, even though they're not here?
Yes.
Just because they are physically not in our life, we bring them with us. They're part of the tapestry who makes us who we are now.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop. And they continue weaving that tapestry as the years go on while we're navigating it without them here. It's you were saying that when you're speaking to people and being able to keep Tim's memory and Oleg's memory alive as you're sharing these stories and how it is, because that's exactly what we want. That's exactly what we want to be able to do, is to keep those memories alive and to keep them with us, side by side with us as we're navigating all of this. And I think for the people who are able to hear that, to know that I don't have to shut that piece of me down. I don't have to be quiet there. I get to continue, and helping other people learn how to be helpers. And then I can continue talking about my child and saying their name and just when we get to help one another and hold our hand out to help one other person take another step. My God, the healing that's in that. It's just so powerful.
Yeah. It has this amazing pebble effect that goes, because if we can be healthier and help someone else be healthier, our world needs so much more of that. So much more of that.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. All of the time, and not just because of what we're going through with COVID right now. We need it all of the time. But I mean, it's such a great message now to help people to know that, you can go through tragedies and you still can be able to help other people navigate, and you still can live a full life, fully engaged with it. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So,
I have this wonderful quote. This wonderful quote that I found this little garden stone a few years ago. It was actually at Cub Foods in their seasonal section, and it just says, "The greatest gift we can give to those who have left us is to live fully in their place." And I use that quote all the time. I say that all the time. And I say, I want to make my boys proud of me when we are reunited. And that's where the title of the book came from. What have you done since I left? Yeah. And do I have time to share the story of where that title came from?
Please. Okay.
Please. So it's in one of our, we facilitate 2 different grief groups in town. One is what I call the general grief group. It's almost entirely a spousal loss. And then we have this group called Gone Too Soon, which is just for child loss. And it was in one of the groups. Sometimes, we had people, of course, have people come in who are maybe, it's been very recent since the loss of their loved one, and they're quite even almost despondent and really barely made it to the meeting and really don't really care that much about whatever they thought they maybe should be doing or what they used to do, and just kind of lost any zest for life. And I don't usually have to say anything because someone else in the group who is further along their journey will say, but what would he or she want you to do? Mm-hmm. And it was during one of those conversations that my husband said he kind of just didn't hear what we were saying anymore, but he had this little video that started going through his head. He said he envisioned himself. He had died, my husband had died, and he was meeting Tim in heaven. And there was, of course, this amazing reunion. And then eventually they sat down at a table and across from each other, and Tim reached out for his dad's hands. And Dick said he was really excited. His eyes were big, and he said, "Dad, tell me everything you've done since I left."
Oh.
And so that's where the title of the book came from, What Have You Done Since I Left?
Oh.
And I often leave a group with that thought, and I can tell the wheels are turning because it's like, wow. I said, I don't know that that's going to happen. I can't guarantee that will happen, but what if it does?
Yeah.
What if that question is asked of you? How do you want to answer it? And how, if the tables were turned, how would you want your loved one answering it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, exactly.
Yeah.
And I go with the exact same theory. And I know that was the thing that got me through because I constantly, I would flip it around and say, like, what would I be saying there? And I'd be saying, oh my God, are you serious? Liv, you're down there. Come on. This is great. I'm watching everything. Get out there and live and do it. And there would just be a little bit of a spark of life, a little bit more that, okay, I can take a shower today or whatever little thing, you know.
Yes, that's right.
Oh my goodness. So Donna, I'm so honored, and I'm just so honored and so privileged to have you here with us. And I can't wait to get my hand on both of your books. And of course, that will be in the show notes because of course we've run out of time. This 30 minutes was by like there's just a blink of an eye.
Sure does.
Oh my gosh, there's so much more to talk about. We just have to pick this up again. So on your website, which is unfinishedbydesign.com, is Donna's information and her speaking, what do I want to say? Speaking availability to contact you for speaking. And would you purchase the books from your website also, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
When you purchase from my website, I actually stock some of those books myself, so I will sign any book that they purchase will be signed as well.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Fantastic. Okay. So that will be in the show notes, Donna's website, so you can get your hands on the books. And I can't wait to do that. I love the title. What have you done since I left? And the other book title was a journal for your journey, and the journey card decks. So, with great honor and great homage to Tim and to Oleg and to you and Dick and Jill and your other two children, thank you. Or I guess it would be then one other child. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing and being with us and just being such a light in a world that we know how dark that can be. Thank you, Donna, for being here and sharing with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness. And for all of the listeners, I know that there's information in there that would help you. And please pass this on to somebody else who you know can use some light and some hope and a lift up. So until next week, thank you all for being here. Have a beautiful week. Thank you again, Donna. And bye-bye for now.
Thank you for spending time with us today. Please go to nadahogan.com for show notes and other information you can use right away. If you like what you heard here, please subscribe to our show and don't forget to rate and review right there on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you get your shows. And don't forget to tell your friends about it. We'll see you next week.